Good Time is the Safdie brothers' predecessor to their most recent and more popularly known film, Uncut Gems. It stars Robert Pattinson, who has come a very long way since Twilight fame, with incredible performances in films like High Life, Good Time, and especially The Lighthouse. Like Uncut Gems, Good Time is a fast-paced, high-octane adrenaline rush of a film with a morally questionable main character. In this case, the main character is Connie, played by Robert Pattinson. One of the main reasons I decided to make this video is because I've heard from a lot of different people who have seen the film that Connie's actions and decision making throughout the film was all done with good intentions and attempt to achieve his end goal, which he claims is to bail his brother out of jail. Which, cool fun fact, even though I'm sure most of y'all know this already, is played by one of the directors, Benny Safdie. So again, I'm making this video because this is an argument that I do not agree with, at least in terms of his good-natured intentions. He could have very well been trying to bail his brother out of jail, but his intentions were not for what he thought was better for him or some sort of greater good. Here's some aspects of Connie's character that we learn as the film progresses. He's manipulative, sociopathic, mischievous, violent, and ultimately narcissistic.
I am better than you.
You're an ignorant fuck, bro.
I think most people would agree that these character traits do in fact represent Connie, and that's already a bad recipe for anybody who would even have the slightest bit of good intentions. But let's remember the reason why his brother is in prison in the first place. First off, his brother, which I haven't mentioned yet is mentally handicapped, was receiving a form of mental health therapy from a psychologist before the session was interrupted and ended by Connie. Soon after, Connie drags his brother through a bank robbery to serve as an accomplice, and after they leave the bank with the money, Connie gives him praise and assures his brother that he is doing something great and how he couldn't have done this without him, which again is emotionally manipulative behavior to try and get someone to do something for you that they obviously shouldn't be doing, especially to somebody who is mentally handicapped. Later on, the red security spray goes off and they're forced to run on foot. Connie drags him into a Domino's bathroom and attempts to hide the money and change his clothes for a second. When the manager knocks on the door yelling at them to come out, Connie replies that his brother is mentally challenged and needs to please give them a minute. So to me, this is a telling detail about Connie's intentions and character. This can tell us a lot about why he strings his brother along and uses him to commit crimes, in the sense that it can be really easy to manipulate people using his mental disability as leverage. They soon find themselves on the run from the police. They dash through a mall while Connie's brother falls behind. Connie continues to run as fast as he can out the mall, knowing that his brother has severely trailed behind him. His brother eventually tries to leave through the same exit but runs and crashes straight through the glass. He groans on the ground in pain as the police catch up to him and book him for the robbery. So let's try to recap and objectively assess the situation that got Connie and his brother into this whole mess. Connie manipulated his mentally challenged brother into doing a bank robbery for him. He uses his mental disability to try and resolve a problematic situation, and then also leaves him out to dry at the end, resulting in his brother's capture.
That's just who you are. You're a fuck up.
And then he spends the entire film doing a bunch of awful things to try and bail his brother out. So the most credit I could possibly give Connie is that he is attempting to put out a dumpster fire that he himself started. And I tend to hear this reoccurring argument from Connie defenders that committing the robbery was a one-time thing in order to get enough money to escape somewhere with his brother and protect him from everyone for the rest of their lives. But one, I think that's an incredibly far reach. There's not enough evidence to rationally come to that conclusion in my opinion. It takes a lot of wishful thinking to get there. And two, after we observe Connie's actions throughout the film, he gives us a huge impression that he is an adrenaline junkie that would have more than likely kept putting himself and his brother in harm's way. And three, even if I were to buy the premise that he was robbing the bank for the greater good of his brother, there is absolutely no morally justifiable reason to drag his brother into it. Sacrificing yourself and only yourself for the greater good is something that I can get behind, but that's clearly not what's happening here. And when you really stop and think about it, what's Connie's real objection to his brother receiving psychological therapy and help? The film hasn't given the audience any indication that the mental health therapy is destructive, immoral, or manipulative. Actually, we're shown quite on the contrary. The opening scene that shows him being evaluated exposes how much trauma he's been through with Connie and the family, and we learn that he probably acts angrily and belligerently during some situations due to being misled and influenced by Connie. So why is it that Connie objects to his brother receiving this kind of psychological help? Well, to me, the answer at this point should be simple. He doesn't want them to expose how much of a bad influence he is. It seems pretty clear that his brother looks up to him even after horrible events like the bank robbery, and it's mostly because of lifetime's worth of emotional manipulation added with the fact that his mental disability makes him more predisposed to being misled and brainwashed. So throughout the entirety of the film, we learn more about Connie and his sociopathic, manipulative, and narcissistic personality. Scene by scene, we see him put on a masterclass in sociopathic behavior that both saves his ass and gives him what he wants, regardless if it harms other people. But fast forwarding to the last 5 minutes of the film, as Connie attempts to flee from the cops, the guy that he's been using as a tool to get what he wants ever since he's mistakenly busting him out of the hospital, desperately tries to escape from the cops by jumping off the balcony in a drunken state. To me, the purpose of showing the demise and death of his character is to send a message to the audience that this is the possibility of what would happen to Connie's brother if he had continued to string him along with his criminal shenanigans. It's to further conclude how Connie is indeed a bad influence and doesn't really have any regard for the well-being of other people, including his own brother. When Connie finally gets caught, we get this stunning long zoom-in shot of Connie in the back seat of the police vehicle. In this long take, we get a sustained, subtle performance from Robert Pattinson that is solely expressed through his eyes. It's an incredible interpretive scene because we don't know exactly what he is thinking, but we can impose different ideas. He could be contemplating everything that he has done that has gotten him to this point, and is perhaps rethinking his choices now that he is finally caught. Or, what I like to think, is that he is assessing and absorbing the moment where everything has finally come to an end. Like I stated earlier, he seems to be an adrenaline junkie who loves a good game of cat and mouse, but oddly fantasizes about the moment of finally getting caught. He could be taking in the euphoric and perhaps cathartic moment he's experiencing, knowing that he's finally been beaten at his own game. Then we get the final scene of the film, which, I have no embarrassment in saying, breaks me into tears on every watch. A combination of the original song being used and the context of the scene makes this an incredible emotional finisher for the film. I find this final scene to be heartbreaking, but also uplifting and inspirational. It's heartbreaking because we as the audience get to see him finally get the much needed help that he's obviously been needing throughout his entire life, but has been consistently deprived of it due to his brother misleading him. It's a scene that shows us that if he would have just gotten this type of help from the beginning, and Connie was not in the picture trying to break him out and do a bunch of horrible things, then he probably wouldn't have had such bad mental trauma and probably would be in a much better headspace and a more peaceful state of mind. But it's uplifting because we finally get to see him express his emotions in a more honest way and be exposed to an environment that is overall healthy for his mental health. He's finally going to be able to get the help that he needs for a very long time, and hopefully Connie doesn't break out of jail anytime soon to further mislead him. But who knows, maybe even after Connie does break out of jail, perhaps the therapy would be strong enough for him to realize that Connie is truly a bad influence on his life. But you know, that's just me imposing a lot of my own interpretations to this. Either way, this final scene absolutely breaks me, and it's one of the better gut-punching endings that seemingly kind of comes out of nowhere, but I truly appreciate its craft, and I highly appreciate and respect the Safdie brothers for being able to achieve this kind of emotional conclusion to their film. But alright guys, that's my rather quick character analysis on Good Time. I hope you guys somewhat found it insightful. I have plenty of other analysis videos on this channel as well, so if you really enjoyed this one, please make sure to give this video a like, and please go check out the other analysis videos. I also do 2 film reviews every week that the subscribers request and also vote on in the polls that I put up on my channel. So if you would like to be part of that action and you really enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film related content and to be able to participate in the next leg of movie reviews.